This week on Vallo Vision News, Robert Bowers, the man accused of killing 11 people in a Pennsylvania synagogue over the weekend, appeared in court today. We've got the latest on the investigation.
And searching for answers. A new 737 jet crashes into the sea near Indonesia just minutes after takeoff. Now, investigators are trying to piece together what went wrong.
Plus, get ready to run. See how you can take part in the 13th annual Run for Research this week. Vallo Vision News starts right now.
Hello and welcome to Vallo Vision News. I'm Stephanie Michael.
And I'm Khalil Kyles. Thank you so much for joining us.
The man accused of opening fire in a Pittsburgh synagogue on Saturday appeared in court today.
He faces 29 federal charges after fatally shooting 11 people. Omar Jimenez has more on this story.
My office charged Robert Bowers with federal murder and assault charges relative to the horrific acts of violence he committed at the Tree of Life Synagogue.
Handcuffed and in a wheelchair, the man accused of gunning down members of a synagogue made his first court appearance in Pittsburgh Monday. The alleged gunman, Robert Bowers, was injured in a firefight with police at the Tree of Life Synagogue Saturday and was released from the hospital shortly before appearing in court. The suspect faces 29 federal charges in the shooting death of 11 people. He was initially represented by public defenders.
And we will have the opportunity to present evidence demonstrating that Robert Bowers murdered 11 people who were exercising their religious beliefs, and that he shot or injured 6 others, including 4 of whom were police officers responding to the shooting.
One of the rabbis leading his congregation at the synagogue Saturday morning told CNN about the moment he realized he heard gunfire and how he tried to save as many of his members as he could.
Quickly tried to usher them up to the front, out some doors in the front, towards exits or towards a closet, someplace that they could hide, someplace safe.
Despite the hateful act, he insists the synagogue will reopen, stronger than ever.
Tree of Life has been in Pittsburgh for 154 years. We're not going anywhere. I will not let hate close down my building.
That was Omar Jimenez reporting. The Pittsburgh Steelers are showing their support for the victims of the deadly synagogue shooting in Pennsylvania. The Jewish Star of David replaces the top yellow diamond on a logo that is synonymous with Pittsburgh. It's the iconic symbol of the steel mark, but more often recognized as the logo for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The image has been shared on Twitter as users expresses messages of support with the hashtag #StrongerThanHate.
Another suspicious package was intercepted, this one intended for CNN headquarters in Atlanta. The package was sorted at a post office and not delivered to the CNN Center. That is the third such package addressed to a CNN location in less than a week and appeared to be a mail bomb similar to those found last week in New York. The Atlanta post office where the package was delivered was evacuated, as well as surrounding downtown streets. The man suspected of sending that package and more than a dozen others appeared today in court. 56-year-old Cesar Sayoc appeared in court today, allegedly sent through the U.S. mail system addressed to prominent Democrats and news organizations. But law enforcement officials say Sayoc had a list of more than 100 people to send packages to. None of the devices detonated and no one was injured. Sayoc could receive up to 48 years in prison if convicted.
Rescuers are searching the sea near Jakarta, Indonesia, after a passenger plane crashed minutes after takeoff Monday. Lion Air Flight JT-610 was on a short flight when it disappeared from radar. The plane was carrying 189 people, including a child and 2 infants. Debris, including life vests and a cell phone, has been found in the Java Sea about 30 miles northeast of Jakarta. Authorities have recovered 6 bodies from the water. The agency that oversees air traffic navigation said the flight made a request to air traffic control to return to base about 12 miles out from takeoff, but did not indicate there was an emergency. Now, to follow up on a story we first told you about last week, there's a few obstacles for the thousands of Central American migrants making that slow journey north to the U.S. Sources tell CNN the Defense Secretary is expected to sign a new order to deploy as many as 5,000 troops to the border with Mexico. The Homeland Security Secretary told Fox her department has called for troops to help provide air support and logistics. The pressure to deploy troops has been growing as President Trump repeatedly calls for the military to stop the migrants from entering the U.S. Meanwhile, another migrant caravan departed on Sunday from El Salvador en route to the United States. A group of almost 200 Salvadorians started a long journey on Sunday in search of a better life. The new caravan was organized on social media where they claimed they were fleeing poverty, a lack of jobs, and gangs. The Salvadorian government called on their people to avoid the dangerous journey, but they acknowledged their right to immigrate.
We're just days away from the midterm elections. Alabamians head to the polls next Tuesday, November 6th. Polling locations will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you need help finding your polling location, we've placed a link on the Vallo Vision News Facebook page. Coming up a little later in the show, UM's Dr. Andrea Coleman from Political Science will stop by to talk about next week's elections. Registration for spring and summer 2019 classes begins this week. Seniors can register Wednesday, October 31st. Juniors start Friday, November 2nd. Sophomores on Tuesday, November 6th. And freshmen on Thursday, November 8th. Registration opens at 7 a.m. on those days. Remember, you must meet with your advisor before you can register for classes. Also happening this week, the Vallo Yoga Festival is hosting Boo-Yo on October 29th from 8 to 9 p.m. in Graves. The Halloween-themed event is a combination of Zumba, hip-hop, toning, and stretching. Boo-Yo is a free event for UM students, faculty, and SAC members. And on Thursday, lace up your running shoes for the 13th annual Run for Research. The 5K and 1 mile walk start at 3:45 in the Student Activity Center parking lot. Proceeds help fund UM's undergraduate research program. The entrance fee is $5 for students and $10 for non-students. All on-site registration is $10.
Last week was a busy one for UM's Department of Communication. On Thursday, the Communication Studies program hosted its 8th annual Comms Day at the SAC. Students heard from alumni of the program and learned about the benefits of the comms major. The entire event was planned by seniors and the comms capstone course. Then on Friday, the Mass Communication program held a recruitment event for high school students from across central Alabama. 70 students attended Exploring Mass Communication Day. They took part in seminars and hands-on workshops. The MassCom program plans to make this an annual event. Remember, there's always more news 24/7 on our social media pages.
Just search for Vallo Vision News on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more stories throughout the week. Still ahead on Vallo Vision News, find out who the White House is teaming up with to help fight the opioid epidemic in our country.
Plus, find out how your height could affect your risk of cancer.
And later in the Buzz, get a look at the new logos for the Rocket City Trash Pandas. We'll be right back.
Your success depends upon effective communication. Visit montevallo.edu/COFA. You create your future in communication studies and mass communication. You belong at Montevallo.
Joining us now is Dr. Andrea Coleman.
Dr. Coleman is an assistant professor of political science and joins us to talk more about next week's elections. Hello, Dr. Coleman.
Hi.
And welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
Fine, thanks. Thanks
Good.
for having me.
You're welcome. So here in Alabama, we have governor elections Kay Ivey versus Walt Maddox. What are your thoughts on this race?
Yeah, so I think this is going to be an interesting one. Like most elections, really, it all depends on turnout. Kay Ivey is in a better position because she's the incumbent, has really great name recognition, and of course, you know, Alabama is a red state. But I think especially if younger voters turn out, and just in general there's higher turnout than we normally see in midterm elections, that Walt Maddox might actually stand a chance.
Yeah. And Alabama citizens will also be voting on a number of amendments to the state constitution. Are there any that stick out or have been topics of debate?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are 4 amendments to the Constitution this time around. The first 2 are the ones that are gaining the most attention nationwide. The first one is the one that would allow for the installation of the 10 Commandments in public spaces. And so some of the concern there is that it doesn't actually afford Alabama citizens any more protection than they would already have in terms of religious liberty and religious freedom. But it could potentially open the state up to lawsuits. because of the issue of separation of church and state. So that's a big one people are watching. And then the second one, especially in the wake of Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation, there's been a lot of concern about Roe v. Wade and the status of that case. And Alabama has an amendment to recognize or sort of make the state's position that Alabama recognizes and protects the lives of unborn children. And so the concern there is that if something were to happen at the federal level with Roe v. Wade, then potentially abortion could be illegal in the state of Alabama. And the concern there comes from groups who are worried that there are no exceptions in the case of the life and health of the mother. So those are the two big ones. The other two have to do with the Alabama Board of Trustees, which is not something that people are super excited about. So I think it's really those first two that people need to really pay attention to how your vote is going to count.
Okay. What are elections in other states should we watch out for that could have national impact, especially regarding the Senate and congressional races?
Yeah, so there are a couple of races, right? So the whole conversation is, will Republicans keep control of the House and the Senate? Sort of as we get closer, the conversation it goes back and forth, right? Whether or not Democrats are going to take one or the other. But again, there are a couple of races in the wake of the confirmation of Justice Kavanaugh that have put some very vulnerable senators up for, or that are in re-election races. So one of the big ones is Heidi Heitkamp in North Dakota. So in order for Democrats to retake the Senate, they need to gain 4 seats and not lose any that they already hold. And so there are some concerns with a couple of those races where you've got sort of more moderate Democrats in red states, deep red states. And then of course now with the issue of the migrant caravan sort of entering into the conversation, that's really sort of getting a lot of people out to the polls. So early voting has already started in other states, so we're already starting to see some turnout. But yeah, I think in general it's just going to be interesting to see what happens, because again, it's all about turnout. So if people turn out in other states, who knows?
Yeah, so you've mentioned a couple of times that turnout is really important. How important is it for young people and millennials to get out and vote this
It's
time?
immensely important, right? Because typically the people who turn out in midterm elections are 65 and older. And that's great, but people that are 65 and older have a lot different policy priorities than millennials, right? So thinking about property tax rates and student loan debt, there are just some of these issues, social issues particularly, right, where there are just differences of opinions. And so if you want your voice to be heard, it's really important. And in Alabama, it's, we've got these constitutional amendments, but we also have a number of county level offices, several statewide races that are really interesting, including Secretary of State, which the Secretary of State is sort of the chief election officer in the state, and they get to decide if we have things like early voting. So particularly for students who perhaps care about the ability to early vote or for absentee voting to be easier, that's a race to watch and do some research on. So I think it's really, really important to have your voice heard and just see who all's going to be on your ballots. There's a lot of cool races out there right now.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman, for joining us today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And as a reminder, elections are next Tuesday, November 6th. We'll be right back.
Vallo is listed as one of the most beautiful public college campuses, but it has so much more than good looks. It's been named a College of Distinction 7 years running. Plus, it offers 75 majors and the chance to belong to more than 90 campus organizations. Visit YouBelong at montevallo.com to learn more.
In this week's health headlines, the FDA has approved a new flu drug. Xofluza can be used on patients 12 and older who have been showing symptoms for no more than 48 hours.
It has been nearly 20 years since the FDA last approved a flu drug. Officials stress that while this additional treatment option is important, it is not a replacement for a yearly vaccine. Other preventative measures include hand washing, disinfecting surfaces, and not touching your eyes, nose, and mouth.
The Center for Disease Control says flu activity is currently low across the country. Last year, the CDC says more than 80,000 people died of the flu, the highest number in over a decade.
Last Wednesday, President Trump signed a bill that seeks to combat the national opioid addiction epidemic. It's called the Support for Patients and Communities Act, and it includes provisions aimed at promoting research to find new non-addictive pain management drugs.
The White House has also announced public-private partnerships with more than a dozen companies, including Google, CVS, and Walmart.
The private sector organizations will put in place an array of commitments meant to help combat the opioid crisis. Those measures include drug disposal, programs increasing opioid education, and supporting individuals in addiction recovery.
In other health news, new research suggests tall people are at greater risk of cancer. The reason researchers say is because they have more cells that could mutate and lead to cancer.
A correlation was found in 18 of 23 cancer types tested for colon and kidney cancer, along with lymphoma, where among the types of cancer with the strongest correlation.
Previous research also shows a connection between height and an increased risk of developing blood clots, having heart problems, and diabetes.
Eating organic food could protect you from cancer. That's according to a team of scientists in France who looked at the diets of nearly 68,000 people for 4.5 years.
They found that those who primarily eat organic foods were more likely to ward off certain kinds of cancer than people who rarely or never ate organic foods. Those who ate the most organic food were 25% less likely to develop cancer.
Researchers said that there could be other factors, but the correlation is substantial enough to warrant further studies.
Coming up on The Buzz, the cost of candy.
Here are why some of your favorite chocolate treats will cost you more in 2019. We'll be right back.
At Montevallo, student safety is our priority. That's why our stunning college campus is one of the safest in Alabama. We're a tight-knit community looking out for one another, and we'll keep a lookout for you on campus. Visit YouBelong at montevallo.com to learn more.
Welcome back to Vallo Vision News.
Now it's time for The Buzz. Kisses may cost you more if you're looking for Hershey's chocolate version. The candy company says it's planning on raising the prices of a fifth of its products by 2.5%. No word on which products will see the increase. Hershey's is one of the many companies getting squeezed by rising commodity costs and shipping costs. It hopes that higher prices will offset those costs without scaring away customers. The changes will go into effect next year.
Bluebell Ice Cream introduced its new peppermint bark ice cream flavor Thursday. It's a treat created specifically for the holidays. According to a tweet from the company's official Twitter account, it's a mint ice cream with white and dark chocolate chunks, and the white chocolate contains crushed peppermint candies. Bluebell regularly releases seasonal flavors. They introduced a spiced pumpkin pecan ice cream in September. Be careful next time you go to Disneyland or Disney World. According to the Wall Street Journal, it's getting popular for guests at the famous parks to scatter the ashes of their loved ones on the properties. It's so common it even has its own code, HEPA cleanup. The people aren't just scattering the remains on flower beds, they're actually dumping them on rides, including Pirates of the Caribbean and It's a Small World. Custodians say the Haunted Mansion may be the most popular place to leave ashes. If cremated, are found, an attraction must be closed to the public and an ultra-fine vacuum cleaners used to suck them up. Disney representatives point out that it's illegal to scatter human ashes in the park, and anyone caught doing it will be escorted off the property. So, scattering your remains around Disney is creepy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if that's in your will, you probably need to rewrite that since they're not allowing that anymore. But yeah, that's kind of gross.
Think about it though. If you were to go to Disney World and you're either one, and to go in a haunted house, think about it. Like ghosts are walking around the whole entire time. I mean, it is real haunted because you have.
It could potentially be haunted.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
That's crazy. Oh.
In state news, minor league baseball team, the Rocket City Trash Pandas, has unveiled their logo. According to the team's managing partner, Ralph Nelson, the name has gone viral, sparking merchandise requests from over 30 countries. The team has bought around $100,000 worth of merchandise and anticipates selling out. I mean, that's pretty cool that they came up with the name Trash Pandas.
Honestly, until today, I didn't know what a trash panda was.
Yeah, so a trash panda is a raccoon because it's panda-like and likes the trash.
It makes sense.
For our viewers who aren't aware.
Wow.
But yeah, and I think it's funny that they're getting so much attention because of the name and the logo.
The logo is pretty cool.
Yeah,
I do like
really
the logo.
liked it. But the fact that it's getting attention from over 30 countries for that name,
That's
it's kind
big.
of, yeah,
That's
it's hilarious
That's
to
big.
me.
That's big. Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. Remember, there's more campus and community news on our website.
Just head over to vallovisionnnews.wordpress.com to see stories from mass communication student reporters throughout the week. Thanks for watching, and be sure to tune in to Vallo Vision News again next week.